Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Chattering with Nicholas Vince, depending on where you are. Just wanted to loop in here and say it is now 7 o'clock. We are officially live. Blair did message me earlier on to say that she was going to be joining me, but she hasn't joined me yet. So I'm hoping there's not a technical issue at her end. I'm sure she will be joining me as soon as she possibly can. In the meantime, I'd just like to say welcome to anybody who's watching, and tell you a little bit about next week's show, which is with Romain Basset, who's a young French director who's just released his first feature film, Horsehead. I've had the pleasure of watching it. It's an absolutely amazing film that is based on symbolism and very weird and wonderful and very sexy in parts as well. An amazing cast as well, to Murray Head included, who I remember from Sunday Bloody Sunday back in the 19 something we're not going to really mention about. Anyway, so Roman will be joining me next week, and if you have the pleasure of watching last week's show where Tristan Risk was on, that was just quite amazing. We're joined by the Soska sisters. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I do recommend doing so. Okay. Well, I know Kelly has joined us. Hi, Kelly. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. I know we've got apologies from Paul, who's actually had to start working. If you are there, please make yourself known. If you'd like to ask me any questions before I actually kick the show off this evening, that would be great. Blair has definitely seen the message on Facebook. So hopefully she will be joining me in a couple of seconds. And Derek has joined us. Welcome, Derek. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Derek, incidentally, is otherwise known as Scottish Geeks, and Derek and I have been planning something in the background that we hope to work out how we can do me doing an online horror playing game and so on, which I need to catch up with him about, actually, which I'll do sometime tomorrow or Tuesday. I got a wonderful email during the week from a group called EXGF. I don't know, you may have come across their YouTube video of We Are the Hearts, which I do highly, highly recommend. It's a really nice song, and they said they would like to collaborate with me on something. And basically, I'm going to try and put together something that will feature that very, very good song. So, question from Derek is, how are you coping with the heat? The answer to your question, Derek, is I have got a fan on at full blast, just out of sight, and hopefully not noticeable on the sound at the moment. So yes, I don't know, how are you doing, Derek? It's been very hot or very thundery. We had terrible thunderstorms the other day. So what else could I talk about? So I've talked about XGF. Aha! Now, I can see Blair, but I can't hear. Hi, Blair. Blair is almost with us. Dun, dun, dun. I can see Blair is almost but I can't hear or see her. I can just see her avatar. This is very strange because we tested this earlier on during the week and it all worked fine, but we're almost there. I just have this horrible suspicion that Blair may be kind of having a really miserable time at the other end trying to connect to us. I can definitely see your avatar, Blair. So that is definitely half. Oh,
hi.
Hello.
Sorry, it was like kept turning off, and then I was like, is it gonna work? I don't know all this technology stuff. I was like clicking it and unclicking it and clicking it, and I was like, "Is he there? Is he there, Nicholas?" So yeah.
And my apologies for you. You messaged me an hour before the show was due to start, and I was having a monitor issues. Craig and I were running around the house testing different monitors, just so that I could actually have a monitor rather than just having to do the laptop. But that's all. So that's why I missed your message earlier on.
Everybody, but we're on now.
We're definitely here. And I've got some questions lined up for you, but which is always a very good place to start. So I wanted to just kind of start. Let's start with Blair Bathory. Actually, let's just and let me just kill my Facebook page just to make sure I don't get any notifications and minimize that. So Blair Bathory.
Yes.
That's not your christen. That's your professional name. That's your character.
That's my stage name.
That's your stage name. When? Why Bathory?
This is a horror show, so it's not going to sound weird when I say stuff like this, but I've always had an affinity with serial killers. And
no, that sounds weird.
I just honestly, ever since I was a teenager, I've had this fascination with death and serial killers and macabre and just creepy shit. So Elizabeth Bathory is apparently the most infamous female serial killer in the world. And when I was trying to come up with a name, that just kept coming into my head. Bathory, Blair Bathory. It just sounded right. It just felt right. And I would love to carry on that lineage for her as the most infamous serial killer, and perhaps now I'll be the most infamous female horror hostess. Who knows? Because of that name. But no, I've just always found her story fascinating, and the Blair and Bathory just seemed right. And as we spoke last time, I've always closely identified with the name Blair. So I never wanted to change that. And everybody's like, well, just be Blair Witch. And I was like, no, that's too easy. And then there was the, in elementary school when Blair Witch Project came out, and I was about 8 or 9, the little kids call me Blair Bitch. So I have that negative connotation. So I can't be
really
Blair Witch. So it's Blair Bathory. And it's worked when I'm on set. It just, I don't know, I feel like I get into character when I'm like, I'm Countess Bathory, and I walk on the set, and it just feels good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a great name. It is a really great name. In fact, my husband, that was Craig's, one of Craig's, my husband's immediate question was, any relationship to the Countess Bathory?
I'm her reincarnation, basically.
You're her reincarnation, which is going to be really bad for any virgins or peasants to live nearby. Basically.
All virgins stay away from it. Stay clear.
So obviously you're interested in horror, and we're going to talk a little bit later on about horror hostesses, which you always referred to. But I was interested to know, what was the first horror movie or book that you ever encountered? How did your interest in horror start?
People ask me that all the time, and it's the hardest question to answer because I honestly don't know. I know that I'm an only child, so I don't have any siblings. I didn't have an older brother that was sneaking VHS horror tapes to me and showing me dirty movies or anything. I just found it somehow when I was younger, and I've just, like I said, I've always had this affinity with dark things, and my parents can contest to this. I mean, there was always this kind of battle, like, Blair, you're so pretty. Why do you like scary stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do. Going back, trying to figure out like what the first. I remember I grew up in the 90s, so Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark and Tales from the Crypt played a big role in liking that kind of stuff. I mean, my favorite horror movie of all time, hands down, is Suspiria.
Oh,
But
interesting.
yeah, but that is not the first movie I ever saw. I saw it probably when I was 16, and I was really, really high when I saw it the first time. I don't know if it contributes to that being my favorite movie, but it definitely is. So I don't know what the first scary movie I ever saw. I know one of the first, and it's funny, my mom sent me a text the other day. Like she video recorded on her phone the scene that scared me the most when I was a child. And she would reenact this part too and like freak me out. The Twilight Zone movie from the really early 90s or late 80s
Okay.
with Dan Aykroyd, and you've seen it, right?
I'm trying to remember. Talk me through it because I'm not getting it
The scene that
immediately.
I'm referring to is God, what's his name? The actor, the actor. What's his name? Oh, well, anyway, they're on an airplane and a
Oh,
demon.
William Shatner.
No, this is William Shatner's in on the show, but in the movie, it's
Oh, crumbs! Somebody will tell us. One of our viewers,
somebody
I'm
has to
sure.
tell us because it's going to bother me now. But that guy, that actor, he's freaking out and he's sweating because he's got severe flight paranoia, and a demon gets on the wing of the plane.
Yeah.
And I just always, that demon, because it's not like pitchfork, devil red. It's the scariest demon I've ever seen in my life. It's white. It's got like ice crystals on it because it's at the high altitudes. It's so scary. And then it grabs his head and it goes, that has always freaked me out, and it still gives me nightmares. And like I said, my mom sent me a video of that. I was like, thanks for the nightmares, Mom.
So when you say your mum reenacted these, what did she just use?
She would tell the story, like the story, like a bedtime story, when all my little girlfriends were over, like sleeping over, and she would tell us, like once upon a time, and then she'd get into it, and then she'd call up a volunteer, and then she would do the bit with the head and everybody would freak out. She did that a few times at like my birthday parties and stuff. So maybe I get it from my mom. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I think I've told the story on the show before of my mother running around chasing. I've got two brothers. And the three of us, she would chase us around with a mock snake. Around, I just remember running around the house because we used to live in a bungalow, and it was literally you could do a big circle through all the rooms. So literally, we were just running around and around the house. Great, yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so that's kind of how it started. That's one of your scariest moments. Do you have a particular favorite actor in horror movies?
You, of course.
We take that one as a given on this show.
Who do I like from horror movies? Well, we'll talk about directors maybe first. I'm a big Argento fan, Dario Argento. I'm a big John Carpenter fan. I'm a big fan of The Thing. So directors, those are easier to say my favorites, but favorite actor, ooh, that's hard. There's so many good ones.
Well, at least I can, whilst you're having a think, and you can come back to that one later on. John Lithgow is the actor.
Yes, John Lithgow.
Thank you very much indeed, Kelly. And I'm getting a quote from Derek saying, "There is something on the wing, something."
Yes, something on the wing. Yes.
So I remember the Shatner version. The Shatner version.
That was the Twilight Zone show, and then
yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I've watched the show, and I appreciate the show. But man, that movie, and every bit, and it's still so relevant. Like the first story they do, whoever that's another famous actor. I can't remember his name. He's like a bigot, a racist, and then he gets put back in time, and he goes through all these, like, he goes through Nazi Germany and like Vietnam, and they think he's whatever cultural, thing he is.
The
And
oppressed, yeah.
yes, he's the oppressed person, and it's like flipped, and it's just so good. So yeah, I love that movie.
Interesting. I'm going to have to check it out. Now, you happen to mention one of my other favorite movies, which is The Thing. And I was talking to one of my colleagues and I was doing some filming yesterday, and I was talking to one of my colleagues on that yesterday, and we're talking through what is it about The Thing that you find so entrancing?
The special effects.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I don't know if you watch my films. I sent them to you, but
You did, yes. And I was going to come on to those, and I thought this is a nice way of leading into this. So yeah, the special.
So you probably noticed all my films have practical special effects, and it's just an art form I've always found so fascinating. And until my first film, First Date, which I had never worked with practical effects before. Like, I don't come from, like, I went to an art school, but I'm not an artist whatsoever. All my art friends can agree on that. But no, but when I did First Date, and then I realized how difficult it is to pull off these effects, the appreciation level just went up so high. And then when I rewatched The Thing, I'm like, how the hell did they do that? How did they pull that off? And Rob Bottin, who's one of my favorite effects artists, who did Legend and The Thing and all that, he just had this ability to make things look so real with the silliest materials, like lube and whatever he was using. And I just think it's awesome. I just love practical effects. So
it's very interesting, and one of the I do a thing on the show, original versus remake, which I should be scheduling fairly soon. I'm just trying to get hold of somebody. I've been negotiating as to whether they're going to come on a couple of weeks' time, and it's gone quiet. But I'm also negotiating. I'm also waiting to hear about some filming that I have to do as well, which I'm also very looking forward to. But that is going to be in my next original versus remake, and it's really because there are actually about 4 films based on the original novella on which The Thing is based, including I can't remember the name. There's actually one set on a train with this whole idea. Cool. There is something, yeah. And my mate Mark Logan and I have been talking
on the train.
No trains going into the night, and I love the fact when you get horror that is within somewhere that's I mean, everything is a haunted house. You've got a haunted train. Somehow you can't get out of the house. Cabin in the woods, whatever it is.
Yeah.
No,
I'm really into Alien too. Another practical effects gem, but that taking place on a spaceship. I mean, you just get that overwhelming sense of dread because it just is coming. The alien's coming closer and closer and closer, and they have nowhere to go. It's so scary.
Yeah, and that is the great thing about it. If you can put again, I was chatting with another friend of mine yesterday. I've got an idea for a short story, which I started writing, but is set on a clipper ship, the ships that used to sail from India to the UK carrying the tea back in the 18th century. And it's like when you're on a boat, there is no way to go. Unless you grab the lifeboat, and then you're still in the middle of you may be off the ship, but you're still in the middle of the ocean. And being on a bigger ship, not small, that's always it is this wonderful thing about that being very, very vulnerable. So your first now, I've watched both your films. I've watched both First Date and Kitty Kitty.
That's so cool.
I've enjoyed them both, and I think where did the idea for First Date come from, and where did you find all those good-looking young men as well? That was the other question I had to ask you.
Oh, that's so funny you said that. The idea of First Date came from online dating, basically. Okay. And how just scary it is meeting somebody from picking them up from an online date. I mean, it's just you never know who it's going to be. And then obviously, you know, I'm talking to guys, but I flipped it and I was like, what would it feel like for a guy? And then my brain just kind of went in the direction.
Interesting.
Yeah, but huh?
I was going to say, and that one's available online at the moment, isn't it? First Date.
Public. It's been public for 3 years now. I was 21 when I directed that movie.
Right.
And yes, and I didn't really understand or grasp the idea of film festivals, which in hindsight, I kind of wish I had put it into film festivals because everybody loves that movie. Everybody has said nothing but positive things about it. But when I did it, I was like, no, I'm just going to put it online and see what happens. And that's what I did. So, but all the good looking men, Jason Roy Jones, who's the lead, who's the guy in the car, you know, the guy going on the date. He's a friend of mine's ex-husband, I guess now. But she was an actress too. And I knew her from working on a different film. And I just put a casting call on Facebook. She's like, my husband will do it. And I was like, okay. And I knew he was really good looking. But what you don't see in the movie, which is really funny, is Jason has tons of tattoos, like up his neck, up his arms. And I wanted him to look like this, like Armani model.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, so I was like, you got to wear a long sleeve black shirt and hide all your tattoos. You can kind of see some peeking out from his wrist. But yeah, he's all tatted up. And then all the other guys, all the dead guys, they're ex-boyfriends. Like the guy we on the
Really?
was my ex-boyfriend. And he was my ex-boyfriend at the time. We weren't even dating when I was shooting it. So I just called my ex-boyfriend up. I was like, hey, you want to play a dead guy? And he did.
That's a weird conversation to have, isn't it?
Well,
or is it obviously
very good friends. We're still good friends. When we were dating, he knew how weird I was, so I don't think it was weird for him. He's like, oh, he probably was like to whoever he was with in the room. He's like, Blair's calling. She wants me to be a dead person. That's so her. Or so, you know? And then the guy laying on the floor, like kind of adjacent to the table, is my stepfather.
Okay.
So he was there. We actually shot it in my mom's house. So we put all these dead men on the floor and blood everywhere, and then she cooked the spaghetti afterwards. So
I did a shoot yesterday, and we've and the producer's wife very kindly produced amazing amounts of lasagna for us.
That's the best. Whenever you get someone from the crew's mother or wife or whatever to cook for you, that's the best.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She actually did really, really well because she did the lasagna and the mix of the blood for us, and did the makeup. I'm actually three important roles considering what it was I was doing. It's like, yeah, that this one person was responsible for all of it. This is what you need. You need people around you like that when you make a movie.
You need a special effects artist and you need craft services, and if you can combine the two, you're golden.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about Kitty Kitty. That's I have to tell you, did nobody never tell you don't work with animals? And you've got a cat, and a cat doing what? Is this your cat or
my cat? God, Kitty Kitty is such a long story, but I'll spare you from the length. So I made First Date, and everybody was so into it, and so, wow, Blair, you can actually direct movies. That's really awesome. You should do another one. And I was on this like high, and ready to get into the next one. And I did an Indiegogo for Kitty Kitty, and I raised 3 times what I asked for.
Wow.
And that went really well. Excuse me. So, essentially what happened is we shot it the first time, and as you can tell in the film, it's very heavy practical effects. I mean, we did a full foam latex creature suit. So it was intense, to say the least. But the first suit we got, or that I got, came to me last minute, and it was really bad. Really bad. I mean, not salvageable. So I had to make the extremely terrible decision to postpone finishing the film and redo the creature suit. So we did that, and in that time frame, I lost a lead actress, and a bunch of shit went down, and just everything that could go wrong went wrong, and we had to basically reshoot the entire film. And it was just this crazy experience, and the fact that we went from what we had to what we got, it still blows my mind. I mean, it was the biggest learning experience of my life. I lost a shit ton of money. I lost a bunch of friends. I lost where I lived at the time. I lost everything, basically. I mean, I was at rock bottom after making that film, like mentally, physically, creatively. I mean, it just took so much out of me. And honestly, Nicholas, it was what I needed at the time, because it was my test to prove to myself that this is what I want to do with my life. If I hadn't done Kitty Kitty, I wouldn't be where I am now in Atlanta with all these amazing people doing Fear House and trying to make a feature film and all this other really awesome stuff going on for me. If Kitty Kitty hadn't happened. So I didn't go to film school. I didn't go to college for film. So Kitty Kitty was my film school. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So, I know. Carry on.
Yeah. It was just a crazy experience, and everybody that helped me on it, I feel like is family now, because we were just it was just crazy. I mean, my best friend now, Morgan Wilson, you should look her up. You'd love her art. She's based in Orlando. Brilliant artist. Morgan Wilson, Lux Nova Studio. Everybody check her out. But she came on in the 9th hour to finish the effects for me, and we weren't friends, like, at all. And we have this really great story we tell everybody. So I'm just gonna give away the ending. I don't even care. So basically, the end of the
spoiler
movie,
alert, everybody! Spoilers.
Spoiler alert, everybody.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
At the end of the movie, the cat creature, who's Mafdet, which is an ancient Egyptian cat goddess, who was a goddess of execution. So that's what the. So at the end of the movie, Mafdet, the cat goddess, rips out a fetus of the lead actress. And it was all yeah.
Very well done. It was extraordinarily well done.
Yeah, you should have seen it on set. I mean, it looked like an abortion clinic in there. It was nasty. I mean, there was blood and lube and just everything dripping everywhere. No, but we had to that was all practical effects. We made that fetus. So our lead effects artist and another effects artist molded this fetus in a mold. And it was literally 5 a.m. the night before the final shoot, which was the big effects extravaganza. So Morgan and I are on the floor trying to open this concrete mold, and we're just, like veins popping out of our arms trying to get this fucking thing open. And we finally open it, and we're so excited. It's like we just gave birth. And we look into the mold, and we take our little baby out, and it was horrendous. The back, there was like a bubble that had formed, so there was no back. So this beautiful spinal column that was built was no longer there. The lead effects artist had put these little eyes in there. Well, they had settled in the forehead. So there was 2 little black dots in the forehead. I mean, it was terrible. So we spent all evening together rebuilding this fetus out of silicone and window caulking. It was just crazy. So now her and I are best friends from that experience. Because we get work together. We literally.
I think you're absolutely right. There is something, I call it, friendships from the trenches. I've got a very good friend. Exactly. We went through a tough time together on something, and those are the people you tend to learn to trust and really want to work with again, because if you're going through the hell and they're still with you at the end of it, those are the people you really want to hang on to. Okay, so you made 2 films. I had not realized I had no idea that you'd had such an appalling experience. You mentioned you ended up by moving. how therefore did this? Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about your feature film that you're also working on at the moment, because I'm interested to hear about that. But how did Fear House come out of that experience?
So essentially, last year I took a year off from doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to the mountains of Tennessee. I did that for a minute and just lived the hillbilly lifestyle for 6 months, just because I was living in Orlando before that, working at a sign shop, literally soldering signs together. I mean, last year was weird. So in that time, I was trying to figure out what the next step was, and I just kept watching old horror hosts constantly, and that just kept drawing me in. And I kept going back to my experience with Kitty Kitty, putting it into film festivals after I was done, and the amount of effort and money and time that takes. And I went back to my experience with First Date, and I was like, okay, I made this movie, and my friends and family saw it, and a few people on the internet, but that's really it. And then FearNet closed last year.
Yes.
Yes, and FearNet was the only place I knew of that had a consistent stream of short horror films. And they closed. So all this kind of came together in my brain. I was like, okay, there isn't a horror hostess online right now, and there wasn't at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't a centralized location for short horror films. And there isn't a big audience outside of the filmmaker's friend and family circle to watch these films. So that all came together, and that's where the idea of Fear House came from. Because I wanted there to be a cheerleader for these filmmakers, and I didn't think there was at the time. Like somebody saying, hey, look at these, look at all these right here, they're all right here, come to this one spot and look at these short films. So that's what happened. So that was a year ago, and I kept putting myself into situations trying to make it, and it kept failing. And then January I moved to Atlanta. I got a job at Magic Lantern Studios in downtown Atlanta, and I've been there since March. And I just kind of off the cut mentioned it to the owner, and he was like, that's brilliant. Use our soundstage, use our equipment, use anything you need, pretty much. And they were very nice. And then I got a crew together who honestly is the best crew I've ever worked with. They've been such a blessing. I mean, just phenomenal. Everyone on the crew. And yeah, so now we've done 7 episodes, and it's just been a blast. So
I really, I was going to 7 are out, aren't they?
7 episodes in 3 months, or 2.5 months, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're out aiming to get them out on Wednesday. They come out
every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday.
Yeah, I was doing it the first 3 Wednesdays of the month, but it was just right now with the little budget I'm doing this on, we just couldn't do it every Wednesday. So now it's every other Wednesday.
So it's every other Wednesday, and I think you did a really, really good job of it. It's interesting. We don't, in the UK, there isn't a history of this kind of thing. Was somebody like I said this, that my mate Jeff Porter says, I can't remember the characters. Somebody might remind me at some point. I mean, we do have short, half-hour horror programs. There's a wonderful thing called Inside Number 9, which features Reese Shearsmith, which my UK viewers will know about.
Well, you had Tales from the Dark Side.
Yes. Yeah. Tales from the Dark Side, is that not George Romero? Am I getting confused with?
Well, I think Tales from the Dark Side was, they made a movie of that too.
Right.
An American version of that. But Tales from the Dark Side, this series, I'm pretty sure was an originally British. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. It may well be. I
think so, because it was the Tales from the Dark Side was like the Twilight Zone over there. So.
You know, I thought I'd looked at it and I thought it was Canadian, but you know, I do get very
Oh,
confused.
well,
You know,
who knows? Well,
who
I'm
knows?
American. I
You
didn't
know, absolutely.
don't don't frown on my American ignorance, please. And it was Fourth of July, so I'm still a little hungover from my
Yeah,
celebrating my
yes, absolutely.
Americanness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So who are your favorite horror hostesses? But you said you know, you spent a lot of time watching horror hostesses. Who were you watching?
Well, I mostly watch horror hosts because there's really only two horror hostesses. There's Vampira and there's Elvira, and you can't really get a whole lot of Vampira. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of her videos out. I mean, there's little tiny clips, and then Plan 9 from Outer Space when she intros that. But other than that, because the story goes that essentially they replaced Vampira with Elvira, whatever company owned that name, and then Vampira sued them. So there's some stuff going on there, but Vampira, or Elvira rather, is out and prevalent, and obviously you can see her videos everywhere. She's on Hulu and Chiller and whatnot. But I am not, and everybody's gonna get mad at me for saying this, but I'm not the biggest Elvira fan.
Right.
Because it wasn't scary. She's essentially making fun of the film. She's not introducing the film. She's making fun of them.
Ah, interesting.
So yeah, so I didn't want to do that. I didn't want, because these filmmakers that I'm introducing are my peers.
Yeah.
And I respect them immensely. I didn't want to make fun of them. I wanted to, with wit, introduce them to the public. So that's the main difference, because everybody on my Facebook is like, oh, you're the new Elvira. I'm like, no, I'm not. Only Elvira is Elvira, and that's kind of the reason I chose not to have jet black hair and wear pretty much what every horror host, what you think of when you think of a horror host. I didn't want to look like that. I didn't want it to be like that because it's been done. That wasn't me. So yeah, so there's that. But I was watching more horror hosts like Svengoolie and those guys, the ones from the 80s. And Svengoolie's from like Wisconsin or something. He was just on like cable television at like midnight, you know. But he's really funny and he's kind of cheesy. But I like him. He's one of my favorites. But Vampira, really, and Vampira was, you know, kind of deadpan. So that's kind of what I try and do. She's very stoic and, you know, regal, and the Blair Bathory character is, like I said, I'm trying to be a reincarnation of Countess Bathory. So everything I try and do is like regal and, you know, more deadpan than you know, look at my boobs and I'm Elvira and you know. But,
okay, well, it's interesting. Now, in terms of, you've got some submission guidelines for Fear House, the sort of stuff. What is it you look for? How long is it to have been out? What is it you look for when you look for short films?
So right now I'm trying to do the newer films, so anything from 2012 to now, essentially. And soon, and I'm talking to a few filmmakers about this, I'm going to be world premiering a few films. So they've never been online before. Because right now, the only things I've been screening have previously been released online. It has to be under 20 minutes, and it has to have a level of production value, and that's pretty much based on my opinion. You know, because what's production value to one person may not be to somebody else. But I just, I'm trying to pick things that look good, you know, that are shot, you know, in HD and have good lighting and have the workings of a decent film. And I honestly, all my friends, all my peers in the industry, they're all brilliant filmmakers. So I have no shortage of really good movies. So I've got a list of about 300 films and filmmakers that I'm just waiting to connect with. But I'm kind of doing my friends first, like people I know, for two reasons. One, they're my friends, and two, I wanted there to be a bigger audience before I started reaching out to people I have no idea who they are. So there's an incentive for them to put their film on Fear House. But so yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So this now brings me to, we've had quite a few questions coming in whilst we've been chatting. So I want to start sharing the one is from a gentleman called Paul Yan. It's quite
Hi,
a long.
Paul.
Yeah. Hi, Paul. Unfortunately, he's not watching us live because he had to work and you can't see the whole question. So let me read it out for you. With services like YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, ComTV, Vimeo, Vudu, there seems to be a deluge of ways for people to put out their film projects online and gain an audience. Do you feel this new freedom makes things better for horror films, as the medium has new roads to travel, or worse, as now it's harder for quality work to truly stand out among all the other stuff being produced out there?
Thanks for the question, Paul. I think it's better, honestly. One, there's more competition, and from competition spawns better things. And then two, there are so many avenues for filmmakers to put their stuff, including Fear House. So I think there's more incentive for filmmakers to make films, because now you have crowdfunding, you have Vimeo on demand. There's now Shudder and Chiller and Hulu and Netflix and all these different streaming services. And there's so many different possibilities for us to get our work out there and get bought that, again, I think there's more incentive for us to make movies, because before it was like we had to find a production company or an investment somewhere. And now we can do it on our own. So all these potential ideas that may have gone to the wayside because we just didn't have anyone to help us, now they're getting made. So like Andy Stewart, I think, is a great example. I don't really know his background, but would Andy Stewart be able to make those amazing body horror films if it weren't for all the avenues that are available to him? I don't know. But
yeah,
I like to think that, and would I, as a horror fan, ever found Andy Stewart if it wasn't for all the avenues to find horror films? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's better in the long run. Yes, there's a little more crap to wade through, but that was always the case with horror. I think horror is on the scale where it's like there's no medium. It's like either really bad or really good, So
it's really, I mean, there's, you're absolutely right. There has just been a long history of just gore fests. Just really, really cheaply done. You basically take a camera, a scantily clad young woman, and lots of buckets of blood. Don't worry about a plot. Just run people terrified, screaming, etc. From the 1980s, there's always been that kind of stuff available.
And that'll never stop. That'll never stop. And you'll always, because it's easy. You'll always have bad drama films. There'll always be bad movies, but that just elevates the good ones.
Yeah. Interesting. Very good. And thank you very much indeed for the question, Paul. This is from Kim Lehman. What do you think of the upcoming Suspiria remake?
Oh, thank you, Kim. This kind of goes back to why the importance of having all these indie filmmakers out there in the world to show that an original idea can make money. So recent examples, It Follows, made millions of dollars in the box office. I mean, it got national distribution, and it was just a little indie film. The Babadook, that movie was amazing, and it did so well. And it was a female director, and it was an independent film. I mean, she did a short film to prove her concept, and then she made her feature. And that happens more and more. So I'm hoping that big production companies will take notice and stop remaking classics, because it never ends well. Never ends well. I mean, they're remaking Ghostbusters, for Christ's sakes. They're remaking Suspiria. They made Scream into a television show. I mean, when is it going to end?
Well, and then,
I'm not
apparently
excited.
with the Scream television show, very, very shortly, considering how few people actually watched it, it didn't go down well. There's not been, just didn't. I mean, over a million people watched it but I don't think it's,
Yeah.
It's not everything I've read so far. Yeah, it is interesting.
And I really hope that continues to happen, because we need new ideas, and we have new ideas. And there's filmmakers out there.
And
there's filmmakers out there that have brilliant ideas, and we can
it is
begin
interesting,
to hopefully
though,
stop making things.
No, you're sorry to interrupt. I was going to say the point actually, and we often have this debate about remakes on this program. But one thing I learned the other day that I hadn't realized before, that the fourth horror movie ever made was a remake of the first horror movie ever made. In other words, somebody redid Frankenstein, because Thomas Edison. Yeah, no, it's true. It's absolutely true. There is a long history of horror remakes that goes way back. If there is a good story, everyone wants to have a good. This is the truth of it. Is people love good stories, and if there's a good story, a filmmaker says, "Well, that's good, but I've got, they didn't think about this, and they could, if it's,
That is very true. I mean, The Thing is a remake, of course.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's The Thing is a remake. And there's nothing wrong with remakes, but some things are untouchable. I think there's some things you can't remake, honestly.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
absolutely.
I don't think you can remake Hellraiser, for instance. I couldn't see anyone else redoing that.
No, I mean, Clive has written a reboot. I mean, Clive, there is a script out there. I've not seen it, but there is a script out there from Clive Barker, who's re-looked at it again after nearly 30 years. And basically, I think, and let's face it, he wrote the original novella. He wrote, and they did Hellraiser. And now what he can do in terms of effects, and there's nothing against practical effects or CGI or saying what he's going to do with it. I have no idea what, if and when and whatever. Clive, if Clive wants to do it, he absolutely has to do it.
But if Clive did it, it's a different story than some 20-something fresh out of film school doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of a different. I mean, I would be more inclined to watch a Clive Barker remake of his film than somebody else remaking it. I mean. Yeah. The Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween just irk me. It's like, how can you think you could remake John Carpenter's Halloween? I enjoy Rob Zombie's originals. I mean, House of a Thousand Corpses and 31's that's coming out, and Lords of Salem. I mean, those movies are really good. They're his films. But the remakes are like, okay, cool. It just looks like a Rob Zombie Halloween, but it's not like special. It's not special. That's what it is.
It's very interesting. And to be honest, I have no idea why Rob Zombie did it. I guess because a producer said, we will give you a bunch of money and actors, and you can make a movie. Because these things are not cheap, as you have talked about. Making movies is not cheap and easy. And if somebody says, would you like to do this? We will give you, which will, allow you to basically carry on working, living, and work on your own projects. I can completely understand why people might do that. Okay, now I just wanted to share a couple of other comments that have come in whilst we've been talking. This is from Don Pettit in response to your story about making Kitty Kitty. To be honest, putting so much of yourself into your art that it literally breaks you and leaves you with next to nothing, and you still come back after recouping. That is where the best pieces, whether they film, canvas, or audio, lie. They seem to have more integrity, more life to them than pieces that are made with no risk involved and no worry. I don't know what it is, but that's something that's just there for those pieces. So congrats for sticking up for your passion and not giving up. That's a true artist.
Thank you, Don. Oh, that's so
That sounds absolutely lovely. And incidentally, guys, I'm sorry, I haven't, because I've gotten so involved in the conversation with Blair, we started slightly later. If you do want to come on the show and you'd like to chat live with Blair in our usual way, I'll send the question out there. I'm hoping that Craig's still monitoring it this downstairs. Are you there, Craig? Can you just...
That is so awesome to do it together.
Are you there, Craig? Could you just monitor for me, Craig, who posts a message? I'm convinced I'm not seeing all the messages, but if you'd like to come on live and chat with myself and Blair and ask Blair, ask your questions directly with Blair, please leave a note now, and between myself and Craig, we'll try and get you on. I'm going to share another question from Kim Lehman. For your next film, who would you like to star in it, and will you be submitting it to festivals and conventions? So, who would you like to star in it? If I gave you, the bigger mythical check, is there an actor you'd particularly like to work with?
Oh my goodness, that is so funny you asked that, because I was just talking to my co-writer about that the other day. And we were kind of doing a brainstorming session about who would be in the film. And there's so many choices. So I'm not sure. I've got short films written and that I want to do, but I'm really trying to get this feature to happen. And the feature is, it's kind of interesting because it's one location and one actress, or one lead, rather.
Right.
So whoever took on that role, it would be this really great, I think, exploration for an actor. So whoever it is, and it's an older woman. It's an older woman. So whoever it is would have to be somebody in their late 60s, early 70s. So to be honest, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, because I don't know who I want in it, because I know I want somebody that is a seasoned actress. And I'm back to Rob Zombie. That's one thing that I really admire about him and his casting choices, is when he brings these kind of classic actors from horror and brings them, kind of revives them in his films, like Sid Haig and like that.
I'm just going to put that right there.
Do we have someone on?
Hold on. Sorry, but Jonathan's just joined us.
Hello.
Oh, hi,
he's prettying up his hair just to make sure he looks great.
Oh, yeah.
Were you the one with Batman mask?
Oh,
yes. Yes, he's the one who was wearing the Batman.
She's asked for it, so screw it. Is this going to be a regular thing now? Do I have to do this?
No, you don't have to do it at all. But, if you want to, you're more than welcome. Jonathan, what's your question you'd like to ask Blair?
Oh, there's a question. Oh, bloody hell. Froze, you're getting the Batman mask, completely forgot. No, hold on. I got it.
Oh, Batman, thank you for joining.
Your favorite Tales from the Crypt episode?
My favorite Tales from the Crypt episode. Asking me these titles and actresses and names and stuff. You're putting me on the spot. The one where the wife kills her husband and she like feeds him to a bunch of people. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. All summer I watched, because they were on YouTube. I just did this whole marathon where I watched all the Tales of the Crypt episode, basically.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh, the one with Lance Henriksen and the other guy, where they're two card players, but they've got this grudge, and he comes into town and they have this poker game, and eventually start chopping each other's hands and fingers and whatever. They start chopping off body parts as they kept losing the poker game, but I really liked beforehand when the two of them were going back and forth, about each other and the rivalry they have. I think it was a really good setup to what was going to happen.
Lance Henriksen, simple, it's not too complex.
Yeah, that's interesting. Blair, I think the story you've just described, does she kill her husband with a leg of lamb from the freezer?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that's a Roald Dahl story.
Oh, okay.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, from his book
Oh, yeah.
Tales of the Unexpected, which was done as part of the Tales of the. I think it was done on the BBC, on the ITV series of Tales of the Unexpected. But it's definitely a Tales of the Unexpected story. And I think called The Leg of Lamb.
Probably new.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got this right. He says with great confidence, which probably means I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain that's the one that we're thinking of. Derek has just joined us. Derek, please say hi.
Hiya, how's it going?
Hello.
I shaved.
Good, well done. I had to shave. Derek, do you have a question for Blair?
I do, yeah. I was going to say that Split, I think it was called. With the guy that's from Species. Loved that. It was. It reminded me of another story. It was a creepypasta called If This Is Hell, Then It's Contagious, where a similar thing happened, except he just had this really itchy thing going on. He kept pulling his own skin off.
Yeah, his fingernails and all.
Yeah, but I was going to say, have you ever been inspired by any like creepypasta stories, things like that? Or have you ever been inspired to like produce any that you've maybe read?
Actually, yes, the Russian Experiment creepypasta.
I just read that 2 weeks ago on my channel.
Yeah, I actually have written a short script based on that creepypasta.
Nice.
So, it's one location. Everything I try and do is in one location because I know it's cheaper. So that one I was really inspired by because you can do it in one location, but it's also so creepy. I mean,
yeah. Oh, God. I actually felt sick when I was reading it out. I had to stop reading a couple of times and redo a section because I was like, "Oh, that."
Yeah. It reminds me of Martyrs too. So if
those
you guys,
are being remade.
But yeah, Martyrs is Martyrs is one of my favorite films because it's just so. That's one of the only films that like just right in your gut. It's just there.
Yeah.
Like you just feel heavy after you watch it.
They've got that sort of visceral appeal to. It's like you can almost visualize exactly what's going on, even if you don't want to. It's just like right behind the eyeballs kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the way I can describe it.
When you feel physical symptoms from a film, it's a really good film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, but then I'm so utterly, I'm just so suggestible. I've been known to start sneezing if there's too much dust being kicked up by cars. I think I'm joking. I'm not joking at all.
No. I don't know. It's like if you see someone going like that.
Yeah.
And then
no, absolutely. It's true. I am so. This is why I have difficulty. In fact, I'm going to the Fear Fest at the end of in August. That's 4 days of me sitting on the front row with some mates. And I just texting back to saying, so part of the entertainment is going to be for the rest of the audience is watching me leap out of my seat when things get far too scary. I'm just
that's so ironic. It's so ironic. You play a demon. And you're a little scaredy cat. It's so funny.
I play a demon. It doesn't mean, it's not like Clive actually phoned up Satan and says, can you send me some of your demons? We cast us as actors.
That's just a testament, Nicholas, to your acting ability.
Thank you very much indeed, Blair. Don Pettis has just joined us. Yay, hi Don.
Hey. Hello, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Yes, you can hear me. Awesome. The first time around. That's new. It usually takes a couple minutes.
Yeah. Incidentally, just before you ask your question, Don, I just want to pass on one of the comments from Craig downstairs. Leg of lamb is a great one. If I was going to do someone in, that would be my method. So if we're going around, the supermarket and Craig suddenly puts a leg of lamb in the shopping basket, I know I'm in trouble, basically.
And has that knowing smile on his face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, lamb for dinner.
Sorry, John,
I could totally see it, and I could totally see him going after one of the members of ABBA so he can get himself in there.
Very, very true.
Fantastic job on that, Craig, by the way.
In case some of you hadn't know, I put a video up of Craig at the ABBA Museum. It is on my timeline. It's on my YouTube channel as well.
It's on the channel.
John from me was rocking it. He was totally rocking it.
Yeah, Craig totally rocks it. Don, what would you like to ask Blair?
You guys touched on it very lately about having the vast differences between in the horror genre. You have extremely good films and then you have extremely bad films, but you also have those fantastic horror films that are so bad they're classic. Do you have a favorite film that is like that? Like mine's Nail Gun Massacre. So horrible, it's fantastic.
Yes, and I'm going to tell a quick story attached to this too. Troll 2.
Oh, yes!
I knew that was coming.
Movie.
Yeah, Troll 2, and I was actually supposed to talk to some of the actors from the film on a different podcast called Without Your Head with Annabelle Lecter.
That's Nick Jones's thing.
Yeah.
His radio show, yeah.
So they had lined it up for me to talk to the dad from Troll 2 and the witch. I mean, how amazing is that? And I was so excited, but I messed up and I booked a flight the day of the radio podcast, and I was on my way to Los Angeles, and my flight was delayed, so I was literally in the air as the radio podcast was happening. So I missed my opportunity to talk to them, and to this day it bothers me because I love that movie. And the documentary, The Best Worst Movie.
I was just about to ask you if you saw the doc on it.
Of course. I love that movie. It's so heartwarming. It's so heartwarming. Something that just came from the depths of obscurity and is now a cult classic. I love it. I love stuff like that. So.
And this is Troll 2.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. I think.
It's on Netflix. Just
I think I was going to say I'm sure I'd seen it on something. It's either on the Horror Channel recently or.
And it's not a sequel to Troll.
No, it's completely different.
With Elaine from Seinfeld, it has nothing to do with that movie. It's
Blair.
Yes.
Do the classic line from Troll 2. Come on.
Oh God.
Do the
which one? There's so many.
Oh no, she's eating me alive.
Oh, they're eating me. I like the, I'm closing my belt by 1 notch, so I don't, what does he say? He's like, what does he say? The part where he's like, talking about hospitality. Oh, hospitality. And he's got him over his shoulder. I like that part. The dad when he's scolding the son.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember what he said though.
Or she's like, my dad's gonna grab your little nuts and eat them, or when the kid comes into the bedroom. Because the director and the writer are Italian, and I guess they wrote the script in Italian and then translated it to English, so it just doesn't translate right. So a lot of the lines are so awkward and weird, but the actors are like saying them seriously. And in the documentary, it's funny because some of the actors were like, took it very seriously. Like, it's a very serious movie. I think that just contributes to the amazingness of it because it's just so off the wall.
And bear in mind, the original Troll was actually the first time you ever heard of the name Harry Potter.
What now?
The original Troll was the first time you ever heard the name Harry Potter.
They say Harry Potter?
It was, yep.
Yep.
Oh. I didn't know that.
So when was Troll made then? If it's the first time you hear Harry Potter.
Troll or Troll 2?
Troll 1, I think, was back the early if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the early 80s.
I think Troll 2 was 1990 or 1992 or something.
Troll 2 was 91, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think.
That time frame. But yeah, I like Troll 2. I'm a big fan of Sharknado. A newer.
Sharknado is amazing, and I caught that the other day, and it really has just become the epitome of a guilty pleasure, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really
And we
is.
now have Sharknado 2, of course, which is now out.
Yeah, and Sharknado 3 is coming out very soon, or this week, I think. But when I'm in a really bad mood, I'll just sit in a oversized T-shirt with a Snickers bar and a 2-liter of ice cream and just eat Sharknado and or watch Sharknado and eat the ice cream. And just like, ew. But Sharknado makes me so happy.
I can see that.
Can I do one? Can I do a line from Troll 2 in my epic Batman voice?
Yeah, go.
Of course.
Please do, Jonathan.
This will be good.
And then they're gonna eat me. Oh my God!
Okay. I don't know if we got that. But we're coming to the end of our show. But there is one. I know. And there is one thing that I do want to share. This is from Kim Lehman. She says, and this is for everybody. What do you think of the upcoming show Elevator? I think it is going to be awesome.
With the Soska sisters.
The Soska sisters.
Yes. I am very excited for it. Obviously, it's a game show, but it's a horror game show. I mean, how can you go wrong with the Soska sisters? Somebody, a fellow filmmaker, or he's a writer, Greg Hanks. I think he's a writer. He tagged me and Sylvia on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey, you two should talk for a minute because you're both horror fans." And I was like, "Oh, well, we've talked a few times. I've never actually met them, but I'm a big fan of their work. I'm a big fan of American Mary. I watched Dead Hooker in a Trunk the other night for the first time. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really good, and what a cool idea. I mean, I can't believe that hadn't existed already, so I'm glad that they're doing it." So.
It does sound very interesting, and hey, I think they may still be auditioning if you live in the San Diego, Los Angeles area. They are looking for people. I'm on the East Coast,
but I would love to. I would kill on that show, literally.
Love to get on it.
I actually have one last question for both Nick and Blair.
Mm-hmm.
Just very quickly, have you heard of this new interactive thing that's happening in the UK called Hyde? Spelled Hyde.
No.
You said interactive?
Yeah, it's like a maze. It's like an actual physical maze, and they put heart monitors on you. And the heart monitors
yes. Yes, I have heard of it. Or not? Basically, what it is Blair, is that this came up on my Facebook feed the other day and got an enormous reaction when I shared it. Basically, the idea is that it's a physical presence, and I think they're doing a Kickstarter, Indiegogo type thing for us at the moment to raise funds. The idea is that as you enter the maze, depending on your reactions, and you go into different rooms and different things happen to you, the walls move, so that the maze changes shape. So having gone in one door, you may not be able to get out of that door. You have to go through a different door. And if you go through that door, if somebody else comes into that room, they may have to go somewhere else.
I dare anyone to do that while tripping acid. I dare you. Just like, is the wall actually moving?
I should just point out that this show does not condone or encourage illegal activity of any kind. Just in case somebody wants to have a look at the light and just say, Necklace. Yes, but yeah.
It'd be like Silent Hill meets Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
We have something similar like that over here in Florida. I hadn't gone to it, but it's like an interactive maze thing, but I don't know if it's scary. But there's this thing in San Francisco called McCready Manor, and it's a year-round haunted house that you have to sign a waiver for, and they essentially torture you. I mean, they basically...
I've heard of this.
I've seen that.
Yes, they basically shove rotten eggs down your throat, and they put you in, like, dead body, like...
Yep. You have to sign a waiver, don't you?
You have to sign a waiver. You can only go in with one other person, and you have to go through. Like, you can't tap out. And it's
It takes like 2 hours or something.
It takes like
2 or 3 hours.
And it's free because it's so intense. They're like, we can't actually charge for this to torture people. So you go through, and they torture you. So that's what Americans do for fun.
I plan on going to this year.
Yeah, I really want to go.
I want to get my head around this. So they are making, so basically, obviously nothing exists for free, so somebody has to pay something for this. So what we're saying is that this is a place for sadists to go. So
yes.
They can torture people for free. Oh, this sounds really screwed.
What it is?
Sign me up for 3 nights.
What it is it's a family that loves the idea of the whole torture porn genre, and they wanted to make the most extreme haunted house they could. And they actually have it's an entire group effort in and around the community, because they have other people from the community volunteer their time to come in and help make this house work. That's how they're able to do it for free and not ask for any money for it. But the stuff that I've seen happen through there, it's unreal. I have to go down this year. I'm wanting to go down this year and check it out. It looks really killer.
Where are you located, Don?
I'm in Canada.
Oh, you're in Canada. Okay. Well, if you ever make
that says a lot.
Yeah, if you ever make it out, down to Atlanta, Georgia, we have this haunted house called Netherworld, and it's been around for like 20 years or something. But it's like one of the top 3 haunts in the United States. It is incredible. It's one of the reasons I moved to Atlanta this year, because it was just that good. It's top notch. So anybody that loves haunted houses, you have to go to Netherworld. So.
Really?
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
And what's the name of it again?
It's called Netherworld. So Nether world.
Netherworld. I had heard it correctly. Okay, just to make sure. Okay, cool. All right. Well, that sounds like a really good note on which to end this, because we're talking about people who volunteer to hurt people who want to be hurt. That's great. That's always good to know that everyone's giving up their time for the community. Just so
I'll send you the link, Nick. I'll send you the link to the teaser they have for it.
You can be completely guaranteed that I will not be going there. It's just not ever going to happen. I went round the Universal Halloweens, and those you're only inside for 3 minutes or 4 minutes, and it's like, that's bad enough as far as I'm concerned. There's no way I'd be doing it.
Can I say a quick thing about Spooky Empire?
You may. I'm so sorry. I was quickly going down my list and I missed that one. I was going to say, what is you now got coming up?
So through Fear House and my character Blair Bathory, I will be taking over for the first time ever the Spooky Empire International Horror Film Festival. And Spooky Empire is a very large horror convention in Orlando, Florida. It's been going on for 10 years, I think. And so they asked me to take over. So Fear House is sponsoring it, and I will be hosting it. I'm also coordinating it. So any filmmakers out there watching, please send me your films to be in consideration for the festival. If you're familiar with Film Freeway, it's just Spooky Empire FF at filmfreeway.com. It's going to be really fun, and a lot of really cool people are going to be there this year. There's a Rocky Horror Picture Show reunion and all kinds of stuff, so it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, and I can vouch for the Spooky Empire. I've done that show once, and I had a whale of a time. It's really interesting people, and just a fun show to do. Really interesting
fun show. And it's in a new hotel this year, so it's a bigger hotel, and the owner of Spooky told me that like 13,000 tickets have already been sold, so it's going to be a big show this year. So I'm very excited.
Wow,
and
that's going to be huge.
Me in the flesh as Blair Bathory, so I'll have some spooky treats for everybody that shows up. So
excellent, excellent. That sounds as if it's going to be really, really good fun, and that's happening in October.
it's Halloween weekend.
It's Halloween weekend.
It's the perfect
for Spooky Empire. Yes,
event
absolutely.
for Halloween folk. And it's right across the street from Universal that does Halloween Horror Nights. So you can pop on over there after your convention experience and just have the ultimate spooky weekend. So
you could and arrive a couple of days earlier and do Universal, and that, yeah, I do highly recommend that. It's really good fun. Right then, this has been great. Thank you. So glad we got you on, Blair. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm back again next week with Romain Basset, the director of Horsehead. Please come and enjoy it. It's a fascinating film if you had a chance to see it. In the meantime, please check out. And Blair, what's the next short film that's coming on to Fear House?
Oh, so the next short film is called The Transmission by Brian Lunano. He's a director here in Atlanta, and I actually did an interview with him as well. So you'll get to see his film, and you'll get to see a little interview with him talking about the film afterwards. So added a little at this time. It's honestly, and I don't mean to be prejudiced or pick favorites, but The Transmission is one of the best short films I've ever seen. It's brilliant, so be sure to check it out.
Wow.
It's really good. Brian Lunano is he's the real deal. I really like his work, so
I shall very much look forward to the to watching that. Okay, right. And if everyone would like,
and then we can end real quick.
Real
quick. Patrick Gray's been on the show. Izzy Lee's been on the show. Andy Stewart's been on the show. So check all those filmmakers out. They're really amazing. So, okay, I'm done.
No, absolutely. There's links to Blair's YouTube channel, Fear House. Do check it out. There's some wonderful, wonderful short films on that. Thoroughly applaud Blair for setting this up and what she's doing to help short filmmakers, independent filmmakers. So please subscribe to Blair, subscribe to Chattering with Nicholas Vince. Thank you very much indeed, everybody, for watching it. Hopefully you'll be able to join me next week when I'll be announcing the next set of shows, because hopefully I'll know what's going on in my life in the next month or so. And I look forward to seeing you there. Everybody, wave goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Take it easy.